Well, hey guys, we are back live, it appears. Great, man.
I'm back. I'm back.
Man, I'm glad you're back.
I was mid groove. Like I had caught the groove. I was like, yeah, this interview is sick. And then my phone just like I looked at it. I was like, wait, why am I looking at this spinning wheel? And then it cut black. I was like, no, how? How did my phone die? And I didn't know. But luckily it came back.
Well, if um, it wouldn't be a live stream if something didn't go haywire.
You
So,
know, it,
this isn't
that's
the first time.
I'm gonna say, look, that's how it is with pro wrestling, because that whole thing about cards subject to change, boy, it can change at the drop of a dime. I've
It sure
I've
can, man.
I've been on a show where like the card has changed like 6 times before intermission, and like you start calling one match and then find out you're in a new match, or you find out 2 days before the show you got one match and then day of it's a different match. And that's
Absolutely.
but that's one thing that Ethan has always preached to us, that like, gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep. And you've got to be able to just roll with the changes too.
Exactly. Just be able to
so,
go with it.
So tell us about your very first match. How did it go? What was it like?
Oh man. My first match was like a dream. It was like they had told us so many times before, like it's gonna hit you, whether it be when you go through that curtain or right before you go through that curtain, it's gonna hit you. And I was like, okay, word. I'm me thinking that I'm like, yeah, no, this is just another stage. And then like it all started kind of setting in that like, dang, I've been doing this for 3 years. This is the moment that like I'm finna be a pro wrestler as soon as I walk through these curtains. Like I'm finna be officially here. And like I had all the all the times I had practiced my entrance when I was a kid, all the times I had thought about what I was going to use for entrance music and stuff. It just hit me in that moment. It was like, well, all right, well, I put in all this work. Let's go show them what's good. Luckily, like I was able to debut against like people that I had been training with, like that. Me and DP, my debut match was supposed to be a fatal 4-way.
Mhm.
Me, DPJ, Aaron Berry, and Tristan Moody. Tristan got hurt the week before the show, and in true pro wrestling fashion, card changes, and it ends up being a triple threat. Me, 163 pounds at the time. Aaron Berry, 310 pounds at the time, and Dennis Parker Jr., who was like 260 at the time, 250. The point is, they were way bigger than me. I was the smallest weight wise, but it's tall in terms of height. I was the second tallest. Well, me and Dennis about the same height, but that match was like that'll probably gonna be like a memory that I'll cherish for like the rest of my life, because that match, even though I mean I no none of us cared whether we won. Nobody cared. Like we just wanted to put on a good show. Like we were the opening match of this show, and on this card it was Lince Dorado and Jay Rios in the main event. And after this show, we got match of the night just because of the energy we brought and like the electricity in the building. Like we brought that as our debut match. That is just like as good as you want. I mean, and even then, as good as it was, there's still stuff that we were like, oh yeah, we could have did this and we could have did this. But just knowing that like we went out there on the first one and smashed it, we set the tone for everybody else after us. And it's like that match probably for me, it wouldn't have meant as much if it wasn't for the fact that like last minute we switched rings. So we have two rings at the PWA. We have a 16 by 16 and we have a 20 by 20. We
Hmm.
originally started training in the 20 by 20 and then we started moving in the 16 because, most indie shows will have a 16, they might have a 20, they might have an 18, but more often than not, it's probably a 16. So we called this in the 16 and plan to run it in the 20. Ropes, start messing up. We won't be able to use the 20. We end up using the 16. Now, I do coast to coast,
Hmm.
and coast to coast in a 20 by 20. That's difficult enough, but it's something that somebody's seen before. In the 16 by 16, diagonally is about 23 and a half feet, and I just so happen to be able to jump that far. So uh, I tried it. I figured out that I could do it, and when we were recalling the match, day of, right, like, it was about like 5-10 minutes before showtime, and we were doing the final call through, and I was like, I need a little more oomph. I need something like something big. And I was like, we're in the 16. I'm doing that coast to coast. And that has since become my signature move. Like whenever I go to a new place, whenever I go to places, they always remember me as the dude that jumped across the ring and kicked
Yeah.
somebody in the chest. But yeah, like that, my first match is that's a special one. That honestly one of, like, not even just because of the in-ring stuff, the stuff that came afterwards, because this was fresh off of a seminar with Mike Bailey. So, my trainer and him were still, I still had got like connection. They're still cool. So like he took the time to watch our match and give critiques on it just
Oh,
because
that's
he
cool.
remembered us from the seminar, and like we had that genuinely good connection. Specifically, me and him had that connection because, as a martial artist to another martial artist, and like,
Right.
everybody's usually doing every other standard martial arts style, but you don't see anybody else doing any kind of capoeira or anything like that. And I've done that for the last 19 years of my life. So like it was real, like it was cool for him to see me do stuff like that he's like, he's never seen, and it was cool for me to see him do stuff that like he can just implement straight into there. But the craziest factor about him watching our match, this was like in the midst of like he's gearing up to face Will Ospreay, like
Yeah.
at like in TNA, and
Yeah.
he still took the time to watch our debut match and give us feedback. I was like, well, this is dream complete. If I don't wrestle another match, this is one hell of a memory to have. But
Oh, no doubt.
since then, all three of us have hit the ground running. Originally, me and DPJ were class 6 at PWA. Our Originally there was about 25 of us, and by the time graduation came, there were three of us: me, DPJ, and D'Angelo had graduated before me, and DPJ, like, he had graduated a year before us. He was doing like tag team stuff before he broke out and became the singles guy, the belt collector. He's on a run. But Aaron Berry, he had graduated previously and then came back and re-debuted under a whole new look, whole new like attitude. Like Aaron Berry is the truth. I tell anybody that, because there is no reason a man that size should be able to do the things he does. Like, yes, he's very, very strong, but he's out here like cutting full splits and flips and stuff, and it's like, what? Where did they make you? And then you got DPJ, who's like the youngest graduate from the PWA, and he's absorbed all of the wrestling knowledge you could ever like. Any piece of wrestling knowledge that there is to find, he's had it more than once, and he's just cycled it all through. He's a prodigy, I would say. I would say he's just a student of the game in every sense. Like that's class six. And honestly, one of these days we're gonna get to run that class six triple threat, and that's gonna be a banger. And I can't
Yeah,
wait
it's
for
going to
that
be
one.
fire.
I can't wait for that one. We've since gotten to work.
Absolutely.
We've since gotten to work with each other in like multi mans and rumbles and stuff on different shows. But you know, just recently, well, actually just yesterday at Pro Wrestling Turbo, the scramble match was just about. Well, yeah, everybody was PWA alumni, and it essentially was just a big PWA showcase between me, D'Angelo, Tristan Moody, DPJ, James Johnson, and TJ Era. And we went out there, and everybody that bought a ticket for a seat was standing, and
No
that's what we
doubt.
live. And that's what we live for.
That is awesome, man. So, so we found out about your first match. Tell us now about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
Oh, okay. So I've, as of yesterday, was match number 29 in my professional career. Now, this I'm gonna exclude all of my training matches and stuff at the PWA because there's like hundreds of those, and a lot of those are just us really just having the time of our lives because like specifically me and Moody, we go above and beyond. Like there's lightsabers, the floor is lava. We go crazy. We've gone all the way out the box. But in terms of on shows, I'd say it would have to be either my match with Rob Killjoy at IWE, or it would have to be, well, I mean, obviously my debut match was pretty fun too. It's always going to be one of my favorites. My PCW championship match against James Johnson, and I'd say my Savannah River Brewery Company championship against Drew Adler, because James Johnson and Drew Adler had been two guys that since I started training have been like just the top. They've been the guys that've been going around. They've been the top guys, and they've been like uncles to a lot of us through the PWA because of how good their relationship is with Ethan, and to
Hmm.
have and to be able to have the opportunity to work with them, and like it was like it is really crazy. But like those matches are probably some of my favorites. Well, it's really hard to pinpoint a favorite because like out of my singles matches, those are pretty much all the singles matches I've had. But other than the match I had with TJ Boss, that was pretty cool too. Uh, I have a tag team as well, Three Dope, and then when we're the trio, we're Three Dope Crew. It's me, Florida Man, and Jake Parker. Started out with just me and Florida Man. Jake Parker just recently debuted, so we're definitely going to be hitting the road soon. Very proud of my brother. But me and Florida Man, we took on Sports Entertainment Empire 2v3, and that was a banger. That's honestly that was probably one of the most fun matches I had, just because me and Florida Man just like we can't be serious when we're around each other.
Right.
Like, we're always trying to make each other laugh, and it's like it's become a test because anybody else that does anything, we're just like completely numb to it. But like we just know each other, and like we say the one thing, and it's just like, and like
Yeah.
you gotta quickly regain. But honestly, it's hard to pinpoint my favorite. But if I had to give it to one, it'd probably be either my match with Drew Adler, James Johnson, Rob Killjoy was fun too, and out of the tag matches, it's probably the 2v3.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, Drew Adler was actually my second wrestling related guest on this, and I had the best conversation with him. He is a good dude.
Oh, he is a national treasure. Like, protect Drew Adler at all costs. Drew,
Yeah,
and the thing about Drew Adler is the first time I saw him was in the ring, and Drew Adler in the ring is very intense.
yeah,
Like, he is an intense human being, and he's not a small human being. He's very physically imposing. And like, I saw him at the academy, and I'm thinking that, that this guy's crazy, and then he's just the nicest dude ever. And I was like, what? This is crazy. How do you turn it on and off like that? He was like, "Yo, Ethan's gonna teach you that." And I was like, okay, cool. But
yeah. I was when I was talking to him, I asked him compare and contrast the top tier Drew Adler versus everyday Drew Adler, and he said basically he removes his filter when he goes out to the ring.
mm,
That's so.
oh yeah, see, it's like Drew in normal day-to-day life, he's like the model citizen.
Yeah,
And then he goes to the ring and he's like chugging pre-workout and he's manhandling people, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then he has his knee pads and he doesn't wear them on his knees, and it's like, Drew, what is going on here? You're crazy.
but yeah, I've got Florida Man on Wednesday. I'm
Oh
looking
yeah.
forward to that. That's going to be a blast.
See, the first time I met Florida Man, I knew right then. I was like, this is one of the most entertaining people I've ever met in my life. Like,
Yep.
inside and outside the ring, Florida Man is the most unpredictable person I've ever, like, the most unpredictable entity I've ever met in my life, because it doesn't matter what he does in the ring. You just have to watch what he does, because he's gonna do something that is just completely ridiculous, and it's the like most entertaining thing you've ever seen in your life. For instance, in my own hometown, just yesterday, he brought a petition to make Greenville, South Carolina, a part of Florida, and got signatures. He did the same thing in Augusta, and I looked up for 1 second. He was getting a signature. He shoved it in this dude's face and asked him to sign it. The crowd started chanting his name. I was like, "Oh, what happened?" He's waving his shirt around like this, and I was like, "What happened?" I look over and I look back, and he's backstroking across the floor. I'm like, "What is happening? How did he get down there?" Like, he is a cartoon character come to life. Like,
Yeah.
he's not real. Like, there's no way he's real. But then you realize that he's just a true natural born full blooded Floridian, and those guys are a different breed.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But Florida Man is my brother, and I love him to
Yeah.
death.
So, what, if you can narrow it down to one or two little anecdotes, what have been some of the most interesting or unusual experiences that you've had in wrestling so far?
Hmm. I'd say it wasn't really unusual, but like, it was kind of odd because I had never met the person before, and they had never, like, to my knowledge, had not interacted with any of my like social media and stuff. But I showed up to a show, and like, they made me fan art and stuff like that, and I was like, what? I look out, like, they got like signs with like my logos and stuff printed out and drawn on.
Oh,
I was
that's
like, this
cool.
I was like, this is cool. I'm like, I've never experienced something like this. How did y'all even like know I was gonna be here? And that's where it started getting weird, because I was like, I don't think I posted about this shit. How did they know I was gonna be here? Well, I don't know. I wasn't really too worried about it. They were fans. But
That is
I'd say,
cool.
like, the most unusual, other than, like, the occasional celebrity moment, there was this one there's always this one lady at this one show, and she's always there, and she's I don't know if she's related to somebody there or not, but like she's always there, and she doesn't do anything but say whoop whoop, and I love her to death, but I still don't know anything about her. Like she's she dances with me when I make my entrances. I still don't know this lady, but she just says whoop whoop over and over again. And I'm like, okay. She has a shirt that says whoop whoop.
Well, she's the whoop whoop lady.
I
I
that's
mean,
that's literally how I've like described her to anybody. I was like, that's the whoop whoop lady. That's her. I don't know. I at this point I don't even want to know her real name. I'm just gonna refer to her as the whoop whoop lady
that
forever.
works. That works, man. So, as far as your in ring and your promos, who would you say are some of your influences?
So as far as in ring style, I have I've like taken like a lot. Like you can tell who's a fan of who by the way they wrestle it to an extent, because the way I have a lot of reckless abandonment. You can tell Jeff Hardy was a lot of a big influence. But as far as my showmanship, I loved Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and Jeff Hardy were my top two forever. Like Shawn Michaels was the greatest. I obviously you can tell my heart was broken when he retired. I wanted him to beat Undertaker, but I really didn't want Undertaker to lose. Like I was very stressed as a child. But
You were conflicted.
I was very much so because like not only was I a big Shawn Michaels fan, my cousins were big Undertaker fans. So they was like, oh yeah, he finna get Shawn Michaels out of here. I'm like, nah, Shawn Michaels gonna win. He almost won last year and he didn't win. I was so upset. But like, I understood that, he had to retire. It was about his time. But as far as like promos and stuff, I would look into like people just giving direct monologues and stuff. Like I was a theater kid for a while, so like like I was never unfamiliar with a monologue or you know soliloquies and poetry and stuff like that. Like I used to do that, so like I'm good at talking with promos and stuff. But then I thought about it. Everybody does that. What's a better way to convey my character and my personality? Me and Florida Man started doing skits, and they've been the things that have been blowing up for us. Like for Phoenix Wrestling Experience in Augusta, we've been doing promos like with different themes for a while. Like we did a Jay and Silent Bob series, and
Hmm. Yeah.
that was just like us having fun. Like, and every time we would come up with a new idea, and it made us laugh. It was like, okay, this probably translate well. And for PCW, we had a Dragon Ball theme show, and Florida Man died, and I had to bring him back to life with the Dragon Balls. Like, and it's just us having fun. Like me finding the Dragon Balls, and like breaking into someone's house and looking through the woods and all type of stuff. It's just us just having fun. So as far as like promos and stuff, I really didn't look too much into wrestling for those. It was more so from movies and other things that I liked. So like if I had to say like a monologue or a promo like that, Denzel Washington from Training Day. But if it's like if mainly it's been TV shows that me and my friends just happen to like. Like there's a show called Smiling Friends, and we try our best to get as many references into that. And just because it translates to a lot of different things. A lot of people like it, so even if you don't get the reference, you'll probably still enjoy it.
Absolutely. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Like a match that you can go back and watch and rewatch, and you always glean something new from it?
Okay, so I can tell you specifically as a Shawn Michaels fan, WrestleMania 25, that Shawn Michaels versus Taker. That's probably one that I can say that I could go back and watch that a million times. And like, it's different now watching wrestling, from back then, because being on the inside now, I'm watching it through a completely different lens. And even now watching it is like, dang, they going. If it's not that match, I'd say this is a real obscure one, but because I had access to the internet, I started finding Japanese pro wrestling, and I found All Japan, and I found out who Mitsuharu Misawa was, Kenta Kobashi, and Toshiaki Kawada, Akira Taue, all of them. Misawa versus Kobashi, Misawa versus Toshiaki Kawada, the Champions Carnival. Those matches, like the King's Road style, I don't know what it was about it that just brought me in. Is like the aspects of the storytelling and the energy of the Japanese crowds. I really want to wrestle in Japan. I really do. I'm an anime fan. I'm a big nerd. I'm a big weeb. So it's amazing. I'm just gonna go over there and do all of the stuff that I'm doing now, and it's gonna be amazing. Fingers crossed. One day soon.
I firmly believe you'll get there, man. I have no
Thanks.
doubt. But speaking of Shawn Michaels, it is funny to me and very ironic that the two main guys from D-Generation X are now running the company.
They won.
Yeah, they did.
Me and my cousins were we talked about that at the last time we saw each other at like our family gathering or whatever, because since I have become a wrestler, they're like, they talk about they've gotten back into wrestling because of me and stuff, and we were talking about that, like, dang, remember when we used to like get in trouble for doing the crotch chop and stuff, and like DX was all like, they were anti-authority and stuff. It was like, now they run the company.
Yeah,
And
they
the
are the
company,
authority.
and like now they are the authority, and like they're doing a really good job at it.
They are.
Like what they're doing with NXT and, well, with the main roster, that for that matter, like Bloodline storyline was cinema. Like Cody's story, cinema.
Yep.
All of NXT, that is regular fire right about there. And also, speaking of NXT, it's crazy to see that, like, guys like Javon Evans and like Saquon Sugars, those guys that like they were like on the rise when I was starting to train, and like personally got to meet these guys. Like Saquon, before he was Saquon, he was Lucky Ali, and I had done gear for him like on a couple of different occasions, and like it was just crazy to see them, like especially him and like Jay Malachi. I met those guys. Like it's crazy to see that, like, just 2 years ago, I'm just chilling with them in the locker room at whatever show they were at, and now they're signed and stuff. But like, yeah, no, the fact that Shawn Michaels is like the guy over NXT is like warming my heart, because if I ever get the opportunity to go there, I get to meet like the guy. Like I get to meet Shawn Michaels, and the kid that makes the kid in me smile.
Yeah, and the opportunity to potentially sit under his learning tree would just be that would just be priceless.
That would, like, honestly, I might just cut a backflip if I ever had the opportunity. Like, if I get a phone call and say, "Hey, Shawn Michaels wants to teach you," or Shawn Michaels wants to give you the opportunity to learn from him directly, I might turn into a rocket and blast off into orbit.
No doubt, no doubt. So, and this can include present day or past.
Mm.
Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would you love to work?
Definitely would love to. I would love to get the dream match with Jeff Hardy. I would love to get the
Mhm.
dream match with Shawn Michaels, obviously, just because they're my two favorite that I grew up with. But as far as like stylistics and like whose style I think would mesh really well, Shelton Benjamin, I would love to mix it up with him. And he's recently just been back on the Indies. It's a real possibility that I could somehow, some way finagle my way into getting that one. If I get to work Shelton Benjamin, that'd be great. R-Truth, as far as entertainment wise, I really would love to work R-Truth. Um, Naomichi Marufuji, would love to work him. Not work with him. Will Ospreay, just because like I just really would love to pick a lot of their brains, just because like the way they've created moments over the years and the way they've made like they've structured their styles, like I just want to know how wrestling is for them through their eyes, because it's all subjective depending on who the viewer is. So I want to see how they like what's their perception on wrestling and how they've made it work for them, as well as not just our styles looking good together in the ring. Speaking of styles, definitely would love to get a run with AJ Styles, but if I could turn back I working with AJ now would be a dream. But if
Yeah.
I could get X Division AJ or like 2004 Ring of Honor or whatever AJ Styles, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Absolutely.
who's another one? Kurt Angle.
Hmm.
Definitely would love to like prime Kurt Angle, bald head Kurt Angle, like like perk angle is what the kids call him.
Yep.
I would have loved to definitely get in there with him. As far as those as far as like singles and stuff like that. Tag wise, I mean Hardys. Me and Florida Man would definitely mix it up with the Hardys, the Young Bucks, or yeah, D-Generation X too.
Motor City Machine Guns.
That that would be magnificent. Honestly though, as far as like for me, I would give that to the Moody's, Jonathan and Tristan Moody. Them versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I think that was like set the world on fire. Like I think we would not be able to handle the amount of like sheer epicness in one place. Uh let's see. As far as other tags, singles matches, I don't know. I really would like I really love ECW. So like Sabu, RVD, Tajiri.
Hmm.
I really love Tajiri. Like I do a little homage to him sometimes when I do the sunset flip back over and I give him the kick. I wanted
I always felt like Tajiri was underrated. I
oh
mean,
most definitely.
I don't think he got the recognition he deserved.
Mm-mm. And see the thing with Tajiri was like I'm mad I discovered a lot of this stuff later on because like Tajiri was active throughout like my life, but I just hadn't known anything about ECW until WWE bought them. So like Tajiri was out here doing all his stuff in ECW, and I had known nothing about him until like SmackDown versus Raw 2007 2008, whenever like they included ECW. And I was like, who is Tajiri? And I saw him spit mist for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Because, like, I don't know what it was. Probably my love of fighting games and Japanese fighting games specifically. He looked like a main character from a fighting game. And the fact that he was out here kicking people and spitting green mist. I was like, well,
Yeah.
this seems like the guy. This seems like the guy that I need to pick.
Yeah, growing up as a kid, I remember seeing the Great Kabuki,
Oh yeah.
Spit and Mist, and then the Great Muda after that. You
That's
know,
I'm actually glad you said that. That's another one of another like stylistic inspiration and dream match because like Mood is the reason why I throw the Shining Wizard. Like the first time Ethan asked us what moves do you guys want to learn, like the first thing I said was Shining Wizard. I wanted to learn Shining Wizard from the start, and like he asked me, he was like Adam Cole or Muda, and I was like definitely wanted to learn the Muda style, step up off the knee. I loved it, and not only that, him as like great Muda is epic. But then there's Keiji Muto, who is equally as epic. And like
yep,
just seeing like how he can have two different personas and make them work so well because like they're completely drastically different. Like Keiji Muto is just a really cool dude.
yeah,
And and then the Great Muta is like a literal demon. And
yeah,
and he plays them both so convincingly. Stylistically, like I would love to be able to like work with him with it because I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think he's ever transformed mid match because I'm pretty sure they're two different people. Like canonically, they're two different entities, kind of
right,
like how Mick Foley has four different people, three
yeah,
different people. Sorry, but honestly, it was an idea of mine that like if I ever decided to change personas one day and wrestle under a mask, I'm spitting mist. Y'all better look out for it because I'm spitting mist.
absolutely. It's kind of similar to Finn Balor with the Demon
The
King.
demon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
See him and a lot of other people have like since done like kind of like variants on it because like what it even before Finn like Jushin Liger he had Keishan Liger when he decided to rip the paint. That honestly was the coolest thing ever too. Because like if I ever get to wear a mask, I'm ripping it off with the face paint. I'm waiting for a reason to give me some face paint. Jeff Hardy is still in me, very much so. I'm ready to do it. But uh, like Finn Balor's demon form, like Leo Rush's Black Heart, like Jonathan Gresham has like I forgot the name of it, but like he wears a mask and he has black, ooze dripping from his mouth.
right.
Well, I mean, hell, Joseph Parks for that matter, because I mean, he technically turns into Abyss.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it
I'm
really is.
I remember the first time I like found out what TNA was, because like being a WWE kid with all my cousins and stuff, they all we had was WWE. And I come to my cousin's house one day and he's got a game case and it's sitting up. And I was like, who are these people? What is TNA? Total nonstop action. I was like, what is this? And I said Impact across the top. And I'm looking at the cover. I'm like, wait, I recognize some of these people. I was like, is that Kurt Angle? Is that Booker T? I was like, who is
Yep,
this? I was like, who is this dude flying through the air? He looks pretty cool. It was AJ Styles. I didn't know who he was at the time, and I was like,
yep,
this dude looks pretty cool. Who is this? And then there was Suicide on the cover of the game with the red and blue. So I'm like, what is this? And I see Spike TV on the bottom of the cover, and I'm like, is this like this is real wrestling? Like this is what? So I look into it and I started watching TNA on Thursdays. Well, Monday Night Raw on Mondays, TNA on Thursdays, and then Friday Night SmackDown. Like it just became a part of the rotation, and then that's where like all the fantasy bookings and dream matches came to be because like after a while, it just became clear to me. Like I'm like, okay, so AJ Styles is like their John Cena. He's their go-to guy. And I was
yeah,
like, okay, that's gonna be great. And I was like, Abyss is like Kane and Undertaker at the same time and Mankind.
yeah,
But then like the real Mick Foley showed up, and then like the Dudley Boys, and I was like, wait, these are people I know. And that's when I started like kind of really like realizing how like the business works. I'm like, oh, so they leave one company and then go to
and go
another
to
company.
another. Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm understanding. And like from TNA, I found out what Ring of Honor was, and then well, also from TNA, I found out about New Japan, and I was like, wait, so there's wrestling all over the world? Like WWE's not the only
Hmm.
thing?
Nope.
And honestly, it was like a blessing and a curse because like after I stopped watching wrestling for a long time because like after Jeff Hardy left WWE in 2009, I was heartbroken, and then I rediscovered TNA because of it, which blessing and a curse. Then Shawn Michaels retired. I was hurt, and I was like, it can't get any worse than this. The Undertaker loses his streak, and I'm like, there's nothing left for me anymore. I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. And after that, I was like, I'm not watching WWE no more. And somehow, some way, like some Japanese wrestling popped up in my feed, and like then like some Ring of Honor stuff, and I was like, wait, these are people that I know, like Samoa Joe, Davey Richards, and I'm like, okay, these are dudes that I've heard of before. And then I started finding out about indie wrestling. And then, around that time, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and the Bullet Club were popping. And like it
Hmm.
slowly led to the formulation of AEW. So like I kind of came back into wrestling right at like the resurgence of like of pro wrestling becoming like bigger in the state just because like there was more like there was like more competition, like there were more avenues to go. I watched it all happen in real time, and now
Yep.
I'm a part of it. It's great. I feel amazing.
Absolutely. So, you're a young guy, so you may not really have experienced this yet, but does anything hurt right now?
All of it, all the time. No, like
Like what on your body hurts right now?
so. Currently, nothing at this. So I'd say my if I had to say anything, it'd probably be my lower back, and that's just because whenever I do this leapfrog face buster, and I always land on my butt, and I tend to lean, and I've since corrected it, but like I did it last night, and I landed a little sideways, but ever since like learning how to take a bump the first couple times, it doesn't really hurt that bad. It hurts, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that much, especially considering we're taught how to do it safely. I mean, it
Gotcha.
only hurts when you do it wrong, but sometimes it's like it's inevitable. It's gonna suck. Like, taking floor bumps, no matter how clean that bump is, it's still the floor. It's still gonna hurt. Same thing with taking regular bumps. Even though you taking clean, still does some damage. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, my body, I think it's just because I'm young. My body's still a little resilient because same thing. Ethan tells all of us the same thing, specifically me and Tristan, because we're the two hyper athletic guys that do flips and stuff. He's like, yeah, yeah, y'all doing all this stuff now, but them knees gonna hurt when you're late, when you're older. And I'm like, Ethan, don't tell me that because my knees hurt now. But yeah, I mean, other than like my lower back's not, it's not like a debilitating pain or anything. It's just I just more so just my hip. I
Gotcha.
just I
Gotcha.
just like I got a bruise. Like it was like ring burn mainly. That's that's the main thing that like that really gets people like the ring burn on your elbows, kneecaps, and not wearing knee pads in general. Like if you wrestle without knee pads, you're a crazy man. I don't know how people do it. I could do it. I even started wearing elbow pad just because like I've skint my elbows so many times. It does not feel good.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, what are your thoughts in general on the current state of the industry?
Honestly, I'm really happy to be like where we are now. The fact that it's no longer like, oh, you have to know somebody specific to get in, or you have to train here by these people to get anywhere. It's like the opportunities are being like gifted left, and not, I won't say gifted, but like the opportunities are plentiful, like for like those who are deserving. Like Sean Legacy specifically had just recently had the opportunity to go to work with Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. He was over there for a couple months, and like they're I'm pretty sure they're potentially bringing him back at some point, like because he was showing out over there. And it's just like the fact that you like WWE isn't just the only option. Like, oh, WWE is the ultimate goal. Like, you could reasonably go to TNA or Ring of Honor or AEW or New Japan, and like you can get these opportunities to travel the world and see everything and wrestle a who's who of everybody's favorite wrestlers. And like I'm really happy that I'm where I am now in the current state of the pro wrestling landscape, just because like the possibilities are endless, and it's not like I there is no definite set time of how long it could take. It could take 2 months, it could take 2 years, it could take 20, but like just the simple fact that you have the ability to go anywhere. And like, for instance, Shelton Benjamin just showed up at Prestige and wrestled Mike Santana. And then like you got like Donovan Dijak or Dijakovic, he just shows up on, he's back on the indies. So like now it's no longer like, oh, they left WWE. Now they're going straight to TNA, or they're going to wherever. They're going all over the place. They could go to CMLL, wrestle in Mexico, or like go all over the place, and you could see them anywhere. And that's what I love about pro wrestling, the fact that like the market is so saturated. Like there's something for everybody.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I actually emailed Dijak the other day to ask
Oh,
him about coming on one of these, and he said right now he's so swamped he doesn't have time. But he said for me to message him in a couple more months because he wants to do it. It's just he doesn't have the time because
I can only imagine. Yeah.
he's just covered up with bookings, you know.
Yeah, I can
So
only imagine the life of like somebody who just left a major promotion like that with as much talent and buzz on a name as Donovan
oh yeah,
Dijak or Dominic
I mean, I
Dijakovic.
mean, I mean, I'm excited to see where he's going to end up because he is a talented guy.
Most definitely. Like the first time I saw him was his match with Keith Lee at NXT.
Hmm.
It was that match was just like, what? These two dudes are how tall, how big, and they're out here moving like cruiserweights and doing stuff that I would do. And then when I found you know, back to when I found like indie wrestling and stuff, I found PWG and found out that they did that same match and 10 times more, and it just blew my mind even more. And it was like from that day on, I was a fan of Keith Lee and I was a fan of Dijak. And I was like, this is amazing.
Speaking of Keith Lee, I really hope he can get healthy and put together a streak of actually being able to be in the ring.
Please. Yes.
He is so talented. I mean, to be the size he is, but move the way he does is just
Like that
incredible.
is, I might say that is like something that's like special. Like
Yeah,
you don't see that every day. Like you don't see that just casually. A dude that could like gorilla press you over his head and also cut a standing backflip and also
yeah,
jump over the top rope and do a hurricane ranas and doing stuff that Rey Mysterio, he's the size of Mark Henry doing stuff Rey Mysterio does. And it's like, wow, how do you
yeah.
get that hybrid together?
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's
And
insanity.
and that's And I still remember watching him pounce Adam Cole into the third
Oh
row.
my he's that's insanity. He sent a full grown man 12 feet in the opposite direction.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. So we're getting toward the end of things here. And this is actually one of my favorite questions. And you're a pretty young guy, but do
Mhm.
you have knowing everything you know now, if you had any advice for your younger self, what would it be?
Hmm. If I had any advice for my younger self, probably I won't say I wouldn't tell him not to waste his time with anything else. I just tell him to try wrestling sooner because I started wrestling like at the age of 20. So I debuted at the age of 22. So I no wait, I debuted in 2023. Yeah, at the end of 2023. So yeah, I was 22. But like, had I found out about the PWA uh, sooner, I could have done what DPJ did. Dennis started training at 15, and had he been anywhere else like North Carolina or so, he could have debuted anywhere. He could have debuted before he turned 18. But like the fact that he had 3 years of straight studying to just absorb that knowledge, if I had started like serious interest in wrestling training at like the age of like 11, 10, like that's how you get like a Nick Wayne. That's how you get like a Will Ospreay. That's how you get a Jay Malachi or Javon Evans. Like those guys have been doing this since like they were knee high to a duck. So like if I'd have had that opportunity to do this or at least be around this sooner, like at least being around indie wrestling beforehand, it would have been like it probably would have like opened my eyes to this a lot sooner. Other than that, I probably would have told myself to stop being so reckless. Like I have so many scars on my body just from doing dumb stuff, like stuff that I probably shouldn't have did. Like I have a scar on my back from where I fell off a roof. Now I fell off the roof into a tree. The tree caught me. My first thought was, oh God, I'm not going back on the roof. No, my first thought was, how do I recreate what just happened? So so I fell off the roof and the tree caught me. So the second time I jumped off the roof into the tree, thinking that it was going to catch me again. No, the branch broke and another one broke and another one broke. And then I hit the ground. It was like a cartoon. So I have two scars on my back that are like identical, one from an accident and one from me trying to recreate an accident. Yeah, no, I should have had more supervision. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, Mr. Gravity is a mean man.
Oh yes, and he does not forget. He does not
No,
forget
he does
anyone.
not.
He might let you slide a couple times. He might let you off with a warning, but he does not forget. He does not.
Mm-mm.
He sees all.
He does. He does. So, do you have a favorite move, something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, do you have a move that you won't do?
Hmm. So a lot of the stuff that I want to do, I just have not practiced it yet. Like I'm pretty sure I can do a 450. I'm pretty sure I can do a 630. I'm pretty sure I can do a Phoenix splash. So like those are like they're not moves that I won't do. They're just moves I haven't tried yet. And as far as like a favorite move to do, I do this I'll stomp on someone's hand. I'll do my signature little dance. I'll get sturdy. And then I'll wave. I'll do like the arm wave and it forces them to do the wave. And then I'll run up to the top of the buckle, jump off, Hurricane Rana. It's really fun. The whole process and like depending on who I'm working with, like how they sell it and like how they play it up, it usually gets a good reaction and it's just It's just both of us having fun. Like we're literally just holding hands, dancing, and like at its core, like it's just like what they're dancing. Oh wait, what? He's jumping off the top, and yeah, I really love doing that. Uh, Blue Thunder Bomb's pretty cool too. It makes me feel like I'm like big strong man. I don't know. Makes me feel like I'm really out here lifting.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, usually I'm always jumping off of stuff and cutting flips, but like whenever I get that opportunity to show my strength, yeah, I actually did it to TJ Boss, and I beat him. He's gonna see that and be like, "Oh, word!" He's gonna chop me again. He he chopped me 6 times in the same spot, and
Ooh.
I thought my nipple left my chest. They told me it was still there, and I was like, I don't believe you. I can't feel it.
I believe it. I mean, there are some folks out there that are just vicious with the chops. I
Man,
mean,
so my second ever professional match was against Diego Hill. Love Diego, him and Bojack. I love those are my guys. But Diego has some heavy hands. My first set of promo pics have red handprints like smeared across, and they're from Diego trying to cave my chest in, and I gave him one back, and like it did nothing to him. He ate it. He he ate it. He did nothing to him. I mean, it's crazy though because every time since then in any match that somebody's chopped me, it hasn't hurt as bad, and they always want me to chop them. And when I chop them, they're like, "You could have hit me harder," and I was like, "What is wrong with y'all? Does that not hurt?" Because like my chest hurts. I got like PTSD or something. Every time somebody like rears back to chop me, I immediately like, oh God, please no. I'm covering my chest. But more often than not, it's not too bad. It's just when they get excessive. Like you don't have to chop me 7 times. I'll sell it for you, please.
absolutely. So, something that we've done in all of these is we've given the person uh, on the live stream a chance to pose a question for the next person. And so my previous guest was TJ Era.
Mm-hmm.
And so he posed this question for you, and that is, what are the top 3 companies that you would like to work for during your career? And what would be your goals at each company and your approach to each company?
Okay, so WWE is definitely on the list because of nostalgia reasons and like the name. Everybody would love to have a WrestleMania match and wrestle in Hell in a Cell and the Royal Rumble, like the names that everybody grew up with. Just
Right.
just to be able to say that I wrestled at WrestleMania or I was in the Royal Rumble, like I would love to be a part of WWE. Like I would never be opposed to going there. AEW specifically because like the talent that's there and it's a that's the forbidden door. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
want a piece of the forbidden door, AEW has it. Like everybody from CMLL to Japan, like we got people from Mexico, people from England, people from Japan, Canada, everybody is there, and it's like a constant like revolving door of talent, and you have the ability to still accept indie bookings. So that's really what I want to do. uh, and definitely would it I can't narrow it down to any one specific promotion in Japan. I would just love to wrestle in Japan in general, whether it be Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan, or whatever the case may be. Like I would just I would just love to wrestle in Japan.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, I'll go ahead and let you know tomorrow night's guest is actually a wrestler from Toronto, Canada,
Mm.
named Mr. Marvelous James Runyon. and
Hmm.
he actually trains at Santino Morella's school up there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, do you have a question to pose for him?
Hmm. Which one would you rather have first? Video game cover or action figure?
Good question. I like that. What would
Hmm.
your answer be?
Easy. Give me that action figure. Give me that figure. I need that right away. I need the action figure day one. Like, I mean, yeah, being on the cover is cool. I'll be okay with just being on the game. I don't need to be on the cover. I mean, it's cool to be on the cover, but as long as I'm on the game, I'll be all right. But if I get me an action figure, like a like a little me, like this is Kenny Omega, but if I had one of like be able to do this and my kids be like, "Dad, that's you." That's what I want. I don't have any kids now, but in the future, I want them to be able to be walking through Walmart and be like, "Dad, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's buy it."
That is awesome, man. So we're pretty much at the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you'd like to hype?
All right, so actually, August 8th, PWE's back to school brawl in at the Savannah River Brewing Company in Augusta. That'll be uh yeah, I said August 8th already. And after that, I have a couple more bookings with IWE with that throughout the rest of the year in Augusta, Georgia, and well between Augusta and Lexington, North Carolina, and also I'll be working the Taco Festival September 7th.
Nice, nice.
I'm really looking forward to that one. Tacos and margaritas. I love tacos. I'm pretty sure everybody loves margaritas and wrestling. So
Absolutely.
you've heard of a hot dog and a handshake. Now let's get tacos and margaritas.
That works. Well, Dre, thank you for your time.
No, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
This has been a blast. I mean,
Almost, yeah.
you know, I love just nerding out about this stuff, and
Right.
I can tell you do too.
And
And
also, I meant to mention this earlier. That shirt, love it. I love Marty Skrull. I love the
I do
Bullet
too.
Club. When I say honestly, like when the lady said, like when the lady used to like scream whoop whoop, I was like, oh, so you're a Marty Skrull fan. And then she said
Yeah,
whoop whoop again, and I was like, oh, okay. So you just like saying whoop whoop.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping for Marty to make a comeback and get
Yes,
back on the big stage. Because he
yeah.
deserves it. I mean,
It honestly like it was like it was like kind of heartbreaking not to see him like as one of like the first members of the AEW roster or like anything
yeah.
like that. And it's like, dang, I really loved Marty Skrull's work like as an entertainer. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
was like I was all in like when at All In where he faced Okada for the belt. Like I was all behind Marty Skrull as a heavyweight. Like I was all behind him.
Yep.
And then
Yep. Yep.
like
Yep.
everything changed and it was like I then I rediscovered that he was still wrestling in Mexico and stuff and I was like, oh, at least he never stopped. And it's becoming more and more like probable that he could indeed make a big time comeback, and I would love nothing more to see the villain back in like a big spotlight in some capacity.
Absolutely. I've been following his social media recently, and he's got this hashtag "We Want Marty," and
Yes,
absolutely,
we
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 definitely
want
want
Marty.
Marty.
Villain
So,
Enterprises all the way.
yep. 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 So
I
anyway,
really.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I really appreciate you for having me on, dog. This like to be my first interview, y'all. This was fun, even with the technical difficulties halfway through.
Oh yeah. I
We make
mean,
it work.
absolutely. And what I'll be doing is I'll edit it all together and repost it onto YouTube,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'll have to break it into a number of parts to repost it onto Instagram because they've got time limits on the reels.
Oh yeah.
But but anyway, and I'll be editing the audio into a podcast and all that good stuff. But anyway, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be watching this on replay, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, continue to spread the word. This thing is really starting to take off and take on a life of its own, and I'm excited. And Dre, you've got a bright future ahead of you, and I'm
Thank you, man.
excited to watch your progress, man, because you're going places.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me, honestly, because having people behind me that have given me the opportunities to do what I've done thus far is nothing but a blessing. And this right here was nothing short of a blessing to be able to come be on the platform and talk with you, because this was fun. And I definitely would love to come back on, and I really love the atmosphere.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and